We're live.
Welcome. This is the Village of Gulf Manor Executive Committee meeting dated Monday, October 9, 2023, at 6 p.m. Mr. Pridnoff, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Fisher.
Here.
Mr. Knapp.
Here.
Mr. Michelson. Absent.
Did you hear from him?
No, we
There's a
texted.
good chance he won't be here. There's a community event this evening in response to international events. So it could be that he's involved in that.
Yeah.
I
I did text him to see, but I haven't heard, so
Mr. Simile.
Here.
And Mr. Van Harn.
here. Is there a motion to excuse Mr. Michelson?
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed. I am correct that we don't know why he's not here, correct? Okay.
Okay, the agenda tonight, it's pretty much straightforward. There's a lot on it, so I'm gonna rearrange it a little bit. I'd like to have Mr. Marks, he's gonna do a presentation on some safety issues for Gulf Manor that he wants to make sure we pay attention to. Then I'd like to move into the fall recycling program. That's Mr. Hurth is gonna do a short report on what that's about. Then we will go ahead and get into the appropriations and tax budget discussion and everything involved with that. There's actually supposed to be a few points, which is that, the recreation position, whatever that is, the star fund, and reserves for the future. I've talked to the mayor and some of the other ones, the police of peace and other things. If we don't have time for those, we are definitely, we're gonna move those to council tonight, because those are important for everybody to hear. Any other changes or thoughts on this? Motion to approve the agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And, okay, we have nobody registered to speak at this committee. Trust everybody's reviewed the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any changes or thoughts on that?
One change under the vote to go into an executive session. It has me listed as abstaining, but I did vote in that one.
You did vote?
To the best of my knowledge, I did, yes.
Okay. I apologize.
I made the motion to enter it and pretty sure that I
Okay,
did vote that.
okay. That's been updated on the file.
So you voted for the motion to
Cross
move
that
into
out, but yes.
Correct.
it? Okay.
Yeah, we can just generate a new page for that.
That's fine. I can't print to this, I don't have access for that. We'll do it. Okay, fine.
But it's where it says recused. Is that what we
You
changed?
said, yeah, it should be yes. My apologies.
That's all right.
Okay, any other thoughts or changes? Motion to approve the agenda?
Was that a motion? by-
Motion for the minutes from
Minutes,
the
I'm sorry, minutes.
motion.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We do not have anybody registered to speak tonight in this committee,
Yeah.
so
Take your time.
I guess that would be Lou.
Yes.
Mr. Marks, we're ready. Would you like to,
Lou, do you want to join us at the table?
you're welcome to, yeah, you're welcome
But
to.
we'll go up in the state spot. Have a reach. Okay, so, Roger mentioned about this. What actually occurred with this meeting was I sent a note to the mayor and the administrator expressing that I had some concerns about property maintenance and safety and crime in the village, that both things were going in a wrong direction. So we had a get together. It was Mr. Hurst, Mr. Densmore, Chief Campbell, and Jim Putoff. So we sat around, talked about some of the things that I expressed that I was concerned about. So what I'm going to do is read you the notes to try and keep this brief. Otherwise, we could be here a while, and you don't want that. So, but I would fully expect that these are two things that are on the purpose for the executive committee, and I would expect that these will continue to be things we need to pay attention to. So I'm going to try, and there was a little bit of a glitch in one of the emails because of the servers being up and down. So Chief, if I don't mention something or I'm incorrect, let me know. Okay, so coming out of the notes, you'll be able to tell by these what were some of my concerns. The chief was very adamant that for any issues or concerns, see something, say something. People should call 911 and not the on-duty cell phone, because the on-duty cell phone may or may not get answered. But if you call 911, as soon as they type, the officer on duty starts seeing the information and it's documented. There's none of this, what did they say on the phone? Am I writing something? Am I driving? So it's the way to document it. It's the much preferred way the police would want things to be documented, because that way they have it. It's right to the people on call and it can be handled immediately. So that's one thing. The other thing we talked about was creating neighborhood watch groups. The mayor has a longer write-up about this, but safe to say that we think that's a program we ought to start here. I remember a number of years ago in Pleasant Ridge when they had some issues, they started neighborhood watch groups and it sort of squelched some of the issues up around the Sunoco station up there. So the other thing we talked about there is that we should probably have some sort of call them instruction cards or, cliff notes, something we can get to residents and people to say, if you see something, you want to say something, here's the procedure you should follow to get the information to the police. So that's something we want to look at doing, creating that sort of information card. And there's more details in the mayor's notes about that. We also want to do have a way for the residents to know if they have security cameras around their house, a way to get that information to GMPD so it's added to the list of the cameras that are available in the village. It's nothing about spying or anything. It's about knowing where the cameras are. So if something happens, they know exactly where all the video cameras might be. The other thing we noticed, and I really noticed this because, I walk around all over the place. So I have had people in Pleasant Ridge and in Columbia Township say, what's going on in Gulf Manor? We hear there's all sorts of problems. Social media is really good, right? It gets information out. It can also get wrong information out. And sometimes things sound a lot worse than what they really are. So again, if you have an issue, if you think there's something, go to 911. It does not need to go on Facebook or some other place because it just goes out to a lot of people and it may not even be the right information. And I think the chief thinks that's a really great idea to avoid social media for those kinds of things. Correct? Yes. We're going to request administration investigate feasibility and costs associated with installing in critical areas Wi-Fi enabled pan-tilt zoom cameras. That would probably start with the park, we're guessing, but and again, you have to have Wi-Fi enabled. So where would the Wi-Fi hotspots be? That's all things they have to be. This isn't something that'll happen tomorrow, but something worth considering long term. We also talked about having on the police activity reports sort of year over year.
Okay.
It's good for following up, but what I found in the past is, and when UDF was here, there was a robbery that occurred and they called the cell phone. So I was the one with the phone. So I'm trying to get there. I'm talking to UDF. I'm trying to collect information from UDF. I need to relay it. I need to drive. So that number, people put that in their phone as Gulf Manor Police. And the problem is if there's something serious happening and they just go through contacts and hit call Gulf Manor Police and it calls that cell phone number, there's a chance it's not going to get picked up.
Right.
And if it is picked up, the officer might be in the middle of something else. The thing I've recommended for as long as I've been here is like Lou said, if dispatch is contacted, people get frustrated a lot. Like, just send somebody, I need somebody here, because they ask questions. While they're talking, they're typing. And then while they're typing, somebody's reading that out to us. So it's the quickest, most direct way. And if it's something, serious like a robbery, it's broadcast to everybody in the area. It's not going to one phone to one person. So that's my preferred method of contacting us.
So if we're gonna so-called, I'm sorry if I can't choose a better word, retrain our residents on how they use this. We're not gonna cancel the lines, but do we not put them on our website? Or trying to figure out what the method is for us to make recommendations.
Okay, I would say, okay, so what we had on here was create an instruction kind of card, for something the residents can have. So we're not gonna resolve that here tonight, but the direction is 911. And I don't know if I said that, but 911, not the cell phone. Not the cell phone, 911, and we'll come up with something. So let us do that, but yeah, if you're talking to neighbors, and I've already talked to some, said, do not call that, call 911. It's the most efficient way to have everything there documented. You don't have to worry about whether our on-duty people are, if they're on a case, they're not gonna answer that cell phone most likely, if they're actively involved with something. But if the dispatcher at the call center types it, it's going, right? Like immediately it's going onto the tablets.
Okay.
So,
So to kind of follow up on his question, what's the level of urgency you're hoping to create?
Everything that needs police attention. So the 911 center, when you call 911, it goes to the same call center if you call 825-2280, which is the comm center.
Yeah.
Right. But they need to get through to the comm center so that we are getting records of that.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, at what point is it appropriate to call the officer's cell phone?
Well, that's what we're gonna try and come up with, instructions about that, okay?
I wonder if we should put on our website where those numbers are, saying, please consider calling 911 or some kind of note, if you're gonna look it up there.
That'll be part of the instructions
Okay.
that we're looking to do, yeah.
Okay, great.
I don't know if I'll be involved with that, but
Okay.
your executive committee, so you will be.
Okay, all right. That was my next question.
This is executive, the purpose of the executive committee, safety and property maintenance are core things inside the executive committee. It's right on the Gulf Manor website. So
Okay.
these are core things that need to be handled. And I can always stick my nose in, but I'm
Of
not
course,
here.
of
Yeah.
course. we do.
Yeah. Nose is always stuck.
Mr. Marks.
It's okay.
Okay,
Just one point, that I've been hearing from residents, and I know a story from 2 doors down about a half a year ago, overnight, their car got ransacked. In the morning, it's like, well, man, I'm reporting to the police, I'm calling the cops, they're not gonna do anything, and we're not gonna find anything. So I lost a couple of chargers, I lost some money and a GPS and a kid's, toy, whatever it was, a video thingy. I'm not calling, because they're not gonna do anything anyway. So there's such vibes out there, I don't know where it comes from, that, oh, you have a small burglar, they're not gonna do anything about it anyway. Your car gets stolen, they'll do something. Even a bike, take it, people are not calling the police.
Yeah.
It's vibes out there, it's not me.
Oh, I'm not saying, no, and I know that, I hear that, but that's not the way anything's gonna get fixed, right? If you don't call, don't tell anybody, nobody knows about it, right? Other than you just got chatter,
Right, the question is, if the vibes come from somewhere, do they have a base or not? I mean, when people do call, do they feel like the police department is doing something for them? Or when they call once and the police department says, oh, I'll write up a report, you're gonna get back stuff? Probably not. Anything's gonna happen out of this? Probably not, but we'll put it in the system. So what do I need to put into your system? That's it. Why should I call the next time? Our people feel like they are getting taken care of and the police has their back or not? That's the question. I don't know if what I'm saying is right or wrong. I'm just saying we have to think and figure out, why do our residents have that vibes?
Yeah.
So the fact they say that we have less phone calls this year over the past 2 years could be because of the same vibes where people are saying that we're unsafe and the cops don't care about us.
Well,
I've never heard that sound. I've always heard that one of the advantages to living in Gulf Manor is that the police are present and are responsive.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's helpful to obviously have that input, but I also want to counter with, I've never heard anything but the opposite of that.
I've had
Yes,
people
that's-
mention like, I don't even know I'm recording this, I'm not gonna get my change back. And I've always said, if we don't know it's occurring and we can't document it,
Correct.
when we do get some money, and examples I'll give is, we've encountered people that, were wanted for other crimes, have warrants for them, and they have a backpack full of stuff that we know was stolen.
Yeah.
If nobody tells us, hey, this purple phone charger and this, velvet bag full of change was stolen out of my car, and that's in his backpack, we can't take any further steps. People need to report these things, no matter how little they are, so we can document and respond and track them.
There's another story that came up just a couple of weeks ago. Someone called the police department because he was filling with eggs, chucked with eggs. And then he was trying to follow the guy. And when the police came, because he called them, so from our village, then the police threw him with a ticket because he ran a stop sign. Because he was trying to go keep up with the people that threw eggs at him. And the police did not take care of anything to do with the eggs. So that, why should I call the police department and get myself a ticket and not even take care of the issue why I called? That's a big issue. I apologize, that is a big issue. I can give you more details.
Yeah, I'm
Get
not
the guy
familiar with that
directly,
incident.
okay, the guy directly in touch.
Yeah.
That's no problem.
Well, if I start to picture this card that we'll discuss, that may be it, is please call 911, blah, 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 instead of 911, why? And bullet points, one is we need to know. We don't know, we can't, whatever those things are, that may be part of the education on this thing. You gotta change people's impression of it.
And I've had a neighbor before said, well, these kids did this, and I was gonna chase them. I said, are you crazy? You're chasing some 15, 16-year-old kid that you don't know down the street, down some dark street, and if they have a gun, which I'm guessing somebody might, don't go chasing people. I mean, call, document with 911, say, here's what happened. They may never catch the person, but document. And this thing we're doing, Mayor Densmore was suggesting, let's have some sort of a little cookbook card, something on the website that says, here's what to do. So that'll get developed.
This could be attached to the app somehow too.
It should be on there. It should be everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing in the last couple weeks, I talked to a resident who was complaining about a rooster. And I said, well, I found out, I said, I don't know if that's the code enforcement officer or the police. I was instructed that's noise complaints, so it's the police. And I told her that, and she said, well, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So she doesn't call.
There you go.
So, they have a threshold for.
Everybody has a pain threshold, right?
Because there's a code against having roosters in the village.
Yeah.
But it is
That's
tough
all
to
I
know
was-
when to
Yeah,
call and who to call.
but so we basically gotta try to educate
Yes,
okay.
part of it.
Bigger issue is just the call.
Call.
Just do that,
Yeah.
the bigger issue.
See something,
Just
say
call.
something.
It
It's a
doesn't matter if
real,
you call the wrong person.
They'll probably direct
We
you to the
can
right
get you
person.
to the right person.
and believe me, I know people in nearby communities that would call for something like that and they would never hear. Okay. We have a very high chance of something happening here. Take full advantage of it.
Well, this is great, Mr. Marks, and we will definitely get this on the agenda and one way or another start addressing it. I do one other thing that you brought up that I think is really important is the social media,
Mhm.
everything attached to that. Because, I've lived here 15 years and I won't mention them all now, but there are definitely things that Gulf Manor has this reputation for that living here, I don't experience it or believe it, but outside, I say I live in Gulf Manor, there's different reactions that I'm
Yes.
surprised to hear.
Right.
So, and to me, I've said this for a long time, that we have to do, and it's in our strategic plan, to work on making our image not just positive, but truthful. So that
Right.
people hear about Gulf Manor and they
Yeah.
have a different, we gotta change that thing, and that's definitely part of that. And, because there's a few other points I brought up in past meetings about people think this about Gulf Manor, they think this, they think this. And, you know, I don't, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the village, but so, anyway, I want to bring that up and, because I do want to make sure that that's addressed. And that's part of the strategic plan too, so. Anything else,
No.
anybody?
Mr. Prenoff, if you would like up my notes, I can email them to you.
I took pretty good notes. I don't think I need more.
You
but-
are a speed typist, you are.
I would
Thank
like,
you, sir.
You're very
I'd
good.
like a copy of Mr. Mark's done. So, thank you very much. Okay, Mr.
Hearth.
Sorry, that shirt just throws me off.
Sorry.
I like the shirt, so this is. Did you report on the recycling, the fall recycling program and new collection?
Yeah, we had originally intended for Mr. Putoff to be here this evening to talk about our partnership that we, if you remember back in May, we were approached by a recycling company that is using yard waste to be able to compost and reduce food waste and other kinds of recycling waste. So we are, our intent is when we start picking up leaves on October 30th, which is just around the corner, we've had a couple of practice runs to that facility to drop the leaves. They are expecting to take all of our leaves. The other point of that program is we are trying to secure a chipper and a, I guess,
Shredder.
is there another type of machine, Eric, you're working on this?
So we were looking at doing something with a street sweeper, but it wouldn't be for the same grant.
Yeah, it's, so the chipper would allow us, when we have things where our service department is picking up brush at the street or cutting things down in the parks or whatever, we would be able to just create those wood chips instantly here and offload them to this vendor. The good part of this, from a financial standpoint for the village, is when we take our leaves to Hafner, we have to pay for that to actually offload that material. Under this project, we are not going to be paying for that. We're simply just dumping the leaves. And then the chipper that we're looking for will come to us through a grant. So there's two different grant sources that we are applying to be able to get that. Hopefully that'll be resolved by the end of the year. So Mr. Putoff has there's an on-site visit that's taking place within the next couple of weeks. So likely at the next executive committee meeting, we'll be able to show pictures and give more specifics on what that program actually looks like. So the other thing that I would mention too with leaf pickup is starting on the 16th, which is next Monday. Rumpke will start doing Monday pickup of leaf material in the brown paper bags. That was part of our recycling contract with Rumpke for the season. So that will continue for 8 consecutive weeks into mid-December. So that service is out there and available. So you can get rid of your leaves one of 3 ways. Put them in a bag, set them at the curb for Monday pickup. Put them in a bag, put them in your regular brown trash on Tuesdays, which is not the best way to do it. The third way is to allow, break them to the curb and the village will pick them up. And at this point in time, everybody should have received the leaf schedule for the year, so.
Okay, couple questions. I know one of the things we talked about in the past with leaf pickup was the time it took to bring the leaves to the facility. Has that been shortened or?
It has, yeah, quite a bit.
So last time I think I heard it was they could do 2 loads a day, sort of.
So when they fill a box, it would take 45 minutes to the dumping ground, 45 minutes back to the dumping ground. So there's a huge amount of time lost there, which cuts down on their ability to actually be out picking up leaves. So this should also help with efficiency in getting that
You know
done.
how long the new drive is estimated?
Offhand, I do not. They're in Camp Washington, which I think is just down off the,
Popple Street.
Yeah.
It was like 10 minutes drive.
so it's basically a trip down 75 and back.
It's like 40
Okay,
kilometers.
so that could really help leaf pickup if they do 3 loads a day. I know they said they can fill the box in one street in just a few hours. Okay. And then the other one is the app capable of sending out a notification on this? It is?
It's set up for it. In fact, I switched out, in the last 24 hours, we're starting to use new images on the app. And there is actually, I have my glasses to see that. Road Tracker will actually be replaced with Leaf Tracker. And Leaf Tracker is active and up and running on the website. So if you remember from last year, Leaf Tracker is where we post where they've been in a particular week and where they are going in a particular week. So the one thing about the schedule is the schedule that you've received are where they're concentrating in a week of time. If there are other leaves other places and they get those streets done, they will go pick up leaves other places. But for that particular week, if you're scheduled on, trying to think where you live, Mayflower. If you're on Mayflower and it's your week and you want your leaves picked up, you need to have your leaves out there by 7 a.m. Monday morning because the truck will come down once to get that straight that week. They aren't going to come back and keep looking for leaves unless they have no other work to do on other streets. So, and that worked out well last year.
What I'm thinking about, would the app like send out a notification on either Friday before Monday, so it pings on my phone and says, hey,
We can do a push.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Those are the kinds of things I think would be great to have for people to have notifications that way. So change the way things work. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay, we're gonna move on to discussion about the tax budget and the appropriations and all that. That was kind of a group that I had put on the agenda before. And where this comes from is, last time we passed the tax budget, to be honest, I'm still learning what that means. And also, it's always has felt like we passed it and we're doing it now, we gotta do it now because it's due. And I want to know more about what I'm doing and think things need to be discussed or processed a little bit more than that. So I asked, and then basically the tax budget was explaining that comes before our approval of appropriations budget, which is coming up in
November.
November. And I think there's things in it that I heard about, actually Mayor Densmore brought it up, that we're submitting a non-balanced budget, which to me, I didn't know, I kind of know what it means, but I don't know the ramifications of all that. So what is that a good thing? Does it mean we're definitely gonna be taking money from reserves? Do we want to plan that? I don't know. And then there was also a mention of hiring a new position in the village. And I think the cost of that is not just a one-time deal, it's an ongoing expense that can really change our budget. So all those things are kind of part of it. So I asked Mr. Pridnoff if he would first kind of give an explanation of the tax budget and also then in relation to the appropriations budget. So what we're looking for.
Why is this something that we're addressing in executive committee? Wouldn't this be finances purview?
I've been asked that question, and this is more of a strategic discussion, which is a strategic plan, because the cost of, or the idea of a recreation position, I think that has to be discussed. That's, $50,000 to $70,000 a year. And if we want to make that recommendation, then finance would grasp that and say, can we do it? How do we do it? What do we do? But this is really around strategy of some of these decisions that are coming up, including the STAR fund. There's some things about the STAR fund that strategically how we want to use that. It has less to do with the dollars than how we're going to use the STAR fund.
But if we want to focus on a recreation position, then I think we should focus on what that position is and leave it up to finance to handle the financing of it. I still don't understand how this is, especially when there's so many other things on the agenda that do relate to executive, why we're focusing on things that really, even after your explanation, I still feel are finance's responsibility.
I would tend to agree with Roger in that we're looking at it, what's our path, what's our direction? What are kind of the general things we need to address? And one of the things that was brought up was an event coordinator, I forget the actual thing, does that, and I think executive needs to address, does that fulfill our bigger mission of safety and economic direction and stuff like that? And I think that's where you're coming from. And if we all sit here and say, hey, you know what, that's a great direction. What do we do? How do we pay for it? I think that part,
And
that part gets to finance, I think.
Right.
I think this is just, are we going in the right direction? Which does, I feel like does fall under the purview of executive committee.
I agree. I feel like you just said exactly what I did, that our role would be to focus on what that position is and what the responsibilities are.
Yeah.
Up to finance to determine whether or not it's feasible and how.
Yeah,
Financially.
maybe we're on the same page, just didn't come.
Well, the additional question is, do we need this person? Because what I heard was it's put in the tax budget and we're gonna start working on hiring, when we get this position hired. And to me, it hasn't really been discussed in.
That isn't what was
in
said.
concept.
So it
That is
was
what I've
added,
heard.
it was added to the budget, and it was explained at the time that we did the tax budget that was being included, but we had decisions to make in terms of whether or not we wanted to move forward. There are other questions that need to be answered. We need to look and see whether or not our revenue stream that's coming in from the county is going to be sustained. We need to see if that 2 mil levy passes in the fall. If it doesn't pass, we're not hiring anybody new for anything. Those are all questions that need to be answered. I think it makes sense to talk about the position and see what it might look like. Because it would not be a fluff position, the party planner job. It would be basically relegated to dealing with specific goal-driven objectives related to community engagement, communication in the village. It needs to be like every other position, measured by goals and objectives that need to be met throughout the year. And that whether that says, the goal is one newsletter every month, daily posts on Facebook, regular updates on the website, various pushes that need to be done on the social media app. That is a core piece of that position, in addition to hopefully finding somebody with expertise who can help us do videos and communicate in that way. There are a number of video projects that we would like to do that we need to have expertise on staff to be able to deal with that. But that's not, hiring this position in that tax budget is not a given that we're just gonna do that. There needs to be discussion about that. So that's a misnomer if people think that's what took place. I have a draft of the job description, which is nowhere near done, and it's certainly available for everybody to look at and give input on if they wish. But I don't think we're even at the point of saying, here's what this position looks like at this point, because we don't know that we can fund it yet. We don't know.
I feel like we're all kind of on the same page, like
Well-
Steve said, where it's, let's get it in here, as you craft what you think we need, then we kind of bring it to executive and we all kind of parse it out and say, hey, does this really meet what we all decided already that we need? And then we can look at it and say, hey, this is a position that would really add a lot of value for the money that we're spending. But I think your point is, hey, let's bring it up, talk about it. Your point is, yeah, we need to do that. You're kind of agreeing with him, but the draft isn't ready to really sit down and have an in-depth conversation about it. Is it?
I just want to see what any of that has to do with
Well-
understanding the,
Okay, from then, what I was gonna bring up then is strategically, is there another way to handle those tasks? Can we contract an event company, which Danny's very knowledgeable about, that can do the event planning and things we actually contract them to do it? Second thing would be is, if it's communications and event organization, I think that we can contract a communications person that's very savvy, probably educated in social media, promotional stuff and things like that, and do it on a contract basis. And from a cost standpoint, we still may get the same value and even better, because they there's some things about the position that,
Yeah,
But everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree with, but everything you were saying is about understanding what that position is and what that position needs to do.
Right.
It has nothing to do with understanding the tax, the appropriations and all of that. Like I said, like you said, and we need to hash out what we need, coordinating with the administrator and what that position looks like and what role it can fulfill. And then it's finance's job to handle the financing aspect.
Yeah,
of
well,
it.
once it's decided by council.
I feel like this is at the very least putting the cart before the horse, and the horse is somebody else's responsibility.
yeah, except I guess what I believe is what was passed was at least mentioned strongly is what we put in there to hire this person. And I think it's strategic to exercise, do we need a person or do we need two contracted, services that do it? That's strategy. And yeah, money that makes, we still got, and I did pass the tax budget because I expected we were gonna still have to make approvals. And I said that in the meeting that this isn't really the final, but we're gonna discuss it more. But it seems like, and I said at the beginning today, that it's always put in front of us and it's due tomorrow. We gotta pass it now. And I don't like being in that position, trying to get ahead of that a little bit more. So.
So in this,
Ron, do you have a time frame in which you wanted to present it or bring it up to council and or executive?
after the election, once we see if that tax levy passes and we have a better idea of what our rates and revenue are coming in, at that point, we'll be able to be in a position to say, yes, this is something we can afford, or be able to make a decision if it's a stretch if we want to do that. So at this point in time, we still are showing a reserve for the end of 2024. It's just slower than what it's been for the last couple of years. That's not a bad thing. There are times that we want to take risks, and what I think council needs to do is weigh, you have this mandate, or you think you have this mandate out there that people want more events, more community engagement, the council members and the elected officials want to do more stuff. If that's the case, then we need to figure out what do we build into the equation to be able to support all of that. And you may say, if the tax levy goes down, we're going to be 80,000 in the hole for next year on things that we were planning on spending money on. At that point, it's a moot discussion. We just figure out how to continue the way we've been doing it. So, and true, if we hire a person to do it, it's a long-term expense. We don't want to be laying people off in a couple of years. But on the other hand, I think it makes sense right now for it to be someone on staff because it's somebody who's here, who we can work with on a daily basis and be able to measure goals and have somebody to deal with some of these issues. You're not going to find a contract person for, what did we say the position was? 20, maybe 25 an hour or something like that. I can't recall off the top of my head. You're not going to find a contractor that does it for that amount. If a public relations company is going to pay the person and put a big overhead on it, it's like hiring a temp. But those are all things that we need to talk about when it gets to the point of what does this job description look like? And are these all the things we want this position to do? And also has and other duties as assigned line in it. So, this is not a fluff job. The night that I said something about this, I heard somebody say, "Oh, I'd like to have that job." And it's like, but you're probably going to get calls at 5:00 on a Sunday afternoon because something's not working in the hall and somebody who's running the hall needs to have help. And you're going to be working until 10:00 at night when we do our concert night and those kinds of things. Those are the kinds of expectations of the position that I would have, just thinking about it conceptually right now.
Yeah, Mr. Earth, this is very helpful. I think just having discussion is helpful. And, to me, it's important that this is a public discussion about this and not, and that's part of what I have to do is make sure the public is hearing what we're doing and why and different things, so that's why.
And I want to have that, because that discussion with council, but I don't want to do it until we know we can fund it, essentially. And putting it in the budget was not a slip through, it was, hey, this is something we want to do next year, let's make sure it's in the tax budget, so when we get to December, it's not a surprise, so.
Well, and when I was working on the old, before you, you're over that, before you, I was still working on that, so, this is how communication works, now we know where we're at, I guess. Okay, anything else on that? for now? Okay, I did speak with the mayor, earlier, just in case, and should be able to remove, or, move the, police to peace and operation ramp and the AED information to the council agenda, to reports, is that okay? Or-
Sure.
Okay. So we'll move those, because those are pretty important, and I know, people are here to report on that, so. All right, next meeting is November 13 at 6 PM. Is there anything else? Motion
Motion to adjourn.
All second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we are still live. And now we're clear.